So this is what we're going to be making. This is just a little tiny tray, really small and cute, handy for keeping yarny things in while you're working away on your project. So this is made with corner to corner crochet, also known as C2C. Now if you look closely at this, you'll see that they are just little individual blocks. You might be able to see better on the back there. And all of these little blocks make up the piece. So I'm going to be using US terminology, and we are going to be using the double crochet stitch and the slip stitch. If you don't know if you are not familiar with the US terminology, that is I don't know what it is in the UK. I'll have to put it on the screen. I'll pop it on the screen. So I'm going to assume that you know how to crochet a little bit, but I'll talk you through what I can to make this lovely little tray. We're also going to need some buttons for making the corners here. I've used 8 buttons on this one, but you can just put 1 button on each side, or you could just stitch the corners together. You don't have to use buttons. So let's get on. Right, we're going to be using DK weight yarn and a 3.5mm crochet hook for this project. And the first thing you're going to want to do is create a slip knot. So this is your yarn tail, and this is the working yarn end here. So if you hold the yarn tail in your hand like this, so your yarn tail's dangling round, wrap the working yarn over the top of your index finger and make a cross. Then you've got your working yarn end here, your yarn tail end here. If you lift up that loop and cross it over the second loop and then pull out that loop, it creates a slip knot. I'll show you that again. So yarn tail end in your hand, wrap the yarn over your index finger, making a cross. So your working yarn is this loop here, furthest to your hand, closest to your hand, and your yarn tail end is the one closest to the end of the finger. And what you want to do is you can do it with your crochet hook as well. I find it trickier with my crochet hook. You want to grab the working yarn end and pull it underneath that first loop to create your slip knot. So once you've got your slip knot on your hook, we're going to start off by making the first block. The first block is created by working into the back of a chain of stitches. So you're going to need to create 6 chains. So that don't feel very tight. There we go. So in order to make a chain, you've got the loop on your hook, yarn over the needle and pull that loop through the loop on your hook. That's 1 chain. Yarn over, pull through a loop. 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through a loop. 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we've now got 6 chains. You can see the little V's here and here. These are the little V's of your stitch. On the back of these stitches you'll see little ridges, little bumps on the back. Now this is the bit that we're going to be working into, these little bumps. If I hold it onto the side you might be able to see it a little bit more clearly. So we want to work 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So that's the first bump, so that's the first chain. We want to go into the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 4th chain from the hook, and we're going to work a double crochet. So to do that, yarn goes over the hook, insert the hook into that chain or the back of the chain and pull up a loop. So now you've got 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over again and pull through the first 2 loops. So now you've got 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through the second 2 loops. So that's your first one made. You need to do that 2 more times for these last 2 chains. So yarn over the hook, insert your hook and pull up a loop. yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over the hook, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that is how you do the stitches. So you can see now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in that little block. That's the first block that we've made. The first stitch was created by the chains. Do you remember we chained into the 4th stitch from the hook? So that created this little leg, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 stitches that we actually made. So there are 4 stitches to that little block, and that is basically how you do the blocks. So that's the first one. We now need to create a second block. We're going to do it in exactly the same way. So we're going to chain 6, and then we are going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So what I've done is I've looked at the back again to find the bumps on the back of the chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the 4th chain. So I'm going to work a double crochet into there. So it's yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we've got 2. We need 4 stitches for this. So yarn over again, insert it into the next available bump, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over. This last one can be a little tricky to find, but it is there. It's just there. You might have to dig around for it, but it's there. So yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So now this is what we are left with. It looks a little bit like teddy bear legs. So we need to flip part of this over to be in the correct position. When you're making C2C crochet, your yarn tail, which is this bit here, always needs to be pointing down towards you, like that. So all you're going to do from this position is just, you've got a right block and a left block. Take the left block and flip it over like that. So your yarn tail is dangling down here like this. Now once you've done that, what we're going to need to do next is join these 2 blocks together. So all the way through the C2C crochet, you're going to hear me say, join the right block to the left block, join the right block to the left block. And you will do that. Always keep that mantra in your head. If you don't do that, you're going to have something that doesn't resemble C2C. So we join the blocks together with a slip stitch. So you can see here we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in that block. There's your first one, there's your second one, there's your third one, and the end is your 4th one. You're always going to be joining the blocks by slip stitching into the space between the 4th, well, these last 2 stitches, either the 4th and the 3rd or the 1st and the 2nd, however you want to look at it. But this little gap in between these last 2 stitches is where you're going to be doing a slip stitch. So we're going to join these 2 blocks together by putting the hook in between those 2 stitches, pulling up a loop and pulling that loop straight through the loop that's already on the hook, and that's a slip stitch. So now chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to create a second block. So all you need to do from this point is going into that same space where you joined it with a slip stitch. We're going to do 3 double crochets. So yarn over the hook, insert the hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn around the hook, pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. We're going to be doing 2 more. So yarn around the hook, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn around the hook, pull through 2 loops, yarn around the hook and pull through 2 loops. one more, yarn around the hook, insert the hook and pull up a loop, yarn around the hook, pull through 2, yarn around the hook and pull through 2. So this is the position we're in now. We've got a little V shape, it's very cute, or a little love heart, depends how you want to look at it. So that is, the first block we did was row 1, and now we've just done row 2. That's how quick that was. So now what we want to do now is row 3. In order to get onto row 3, we need to create a new block. Whenever you create a new block, you do it by chaining 6, double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then 2 more double crochet. That's how you do it every time to create a new block. The middle blocks are a little bit different. We've just done a middle block. I'll explain that as we go on, so I won't confuse you. But we need to create a new block. So we are going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we are going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, which is this one here. Sometimes these back bumps are a little tricky, but you can just use your nail. And that's my first one. Double crochet into the next 2 chains. So 1 and 2. So now this is the position that we're in. It could be, as you've done it, you could be in that position. Don't worry if you're in that position, it's absolutely fine. The crochet moves, the work moves around a lot in these early stages, so some of you might find that you're in this position. If you're in that position, just let the work flip down. This yarn tail always needs to be pointing towards you, not up there like that. If that's the position that you're in the wrong position. So either flip your work over or under, however's more natural for the work to fold. But your yarn tail should be at the bottom after you've completed this block. So your yarn tail is pointing down towards you. So this is the block we've just created. So we're going to join the right block to the left block. So you're going to look for that little gap in between the last 2 stitches of that block, which is there. That's your first gap there. That's your second gap there. And that's your last gap. And that's where we're going to be slip stitching to. So put your hook into the gap, pull up a loop and pull it straight through the loop that's on the hook. So these are now your inside squares. These are much easier to do. If you can hear that banging, it's the air vent. It's a very windy day outside and the air vent is banging, so I do apologise. So once you've got your slip stitch and we're on an inside square, these are much easier to do. You just chain 3 and then you do 3 double crochets into that same gap. So yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. That's 2 I've done. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And that's another block created. You see that's the block we've just created. Always join your right to your left every single time. So we've got to join this block to this block. We do that with a slip stitch. You're going to get so sick of me saying that. So this is the block underneath here. We look for the end gap in between the last 2 stitches, which is there. And we use a slip stitch to join your right block to your left block. So insert your hook, pull up a loop and pull that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. Now we need to finish this row, so we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn around the hook, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn around the hook, pull through 2, pull through 2. 2 more double crochets. 1, 2. So you've always got 4 stitches for each square, the 3 that you've just done and the chain 3 that you made at the beginning. So now we have done row 3. So row 1, row 2 and row 3. So we're going to create another block here, and then we're going to go right the way across that row and to the end, and then we're going to create another block there, and then we're going to go right the way back, and that's how we're going to do it. It's really easy once you know how. So in order to create a new block, we will chain 6, double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and double crochet in the next 2 chains, and now my yarn tail is at the top. If you remember on the last row I said that was the wrong position, so I'm going to have to flip the work over so the yarn tail is dangling down towards me. That's how you always know you're in the right position, because the yarn tail will dangle down. And then we need to join this block, the right block, to the left block. We do that by a slip stitch into that gap between the last 2 stitches of this block. So slip stitch. To create a new block, we will chain 3 and then 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. We need to join the right block to the left block with a slip stitch. So find your end space of the block underneath, which is just there. Joining those 2 together with a slip stitch, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, 3. Again, we need to join the right block and the left block together. We do that with a slip stitch, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets into the same space. And this is the position we're in now. So that is row 4. So you'll have noticed that in the inside spaces we are chaining 3 and then 3 double crochet into the same space. If it's an edge block where we're creating a new row, that's where we do a chain 6. So we only do them on the very edges when we're starting a new row. All the other squares are chain 3 and 3 double crochet into the same space. So we need to create a new row. So at this point we're going to chain 6. It's the only time we do that is when we're starting a new row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoops, 6. 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. I can't count, it's that one there. And then 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, into the next 2 chains, sorry, makes more sense if I say chains. The yarn tail is pointing down where we know we need it to be, so that's pointing towards me, so that's in the right position. So we're going to join the right block and the left block together with a slip stitch, like that. So now we're on an inside space, so chain 3 and 3 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, and 3. Join the right block to the left block with a slip stitch and chain 3 3 double crochets into the same space, join the right block to the left block, this one to this one with a slip stitch, chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the same space. Join the right block to the left block with a slip stitch, chain 3 and 3 double crochets into the same space. And now we're back at the edge again, so we're going to need to do the chain 6 to create the new block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook and double crochet in the next 2 chains, my yarn is getting very close to me there. The yarn tail's in the wrong place, so we'll need to flip the work over so the yarn tail is dangling down towards me, and then we join the right block to the left block just like we've been doing. Chain 3. See, it's the same process all the way through, nothing changes. So this is what we call increasing in C2C. It's all done the same way. Join the right block to the left block, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same space, join the right and left together, chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the same space. Join the right block and the left block together, chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the same space. And just keep going in that same way all the way across. When you come to the end of the row, just make sure you do your chain 6, double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, double crochet in the next 2 chains, make sure your yarn tail's where it needs to be, and do the row again. Join the right block to the left block, chain 3, 3 double crochets in the same space. And just keep going in that same way. What we're going to be doing is we're going to keep going until we've got 10 blocks, and then I will show you how we're going to decrease to make it into a square shape, because that's the shape that we're going to need to make our little trays. So at the moment I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my 7th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll notice this one's only got 6 on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I haven't finished that row yet. Once I finish that row, I'll have 7 blocks there and 7 blocks there. So I'm going to come back when I've got a row of 10 blocks on each side, and I will show you how to decrease. There we go. So I have gone ahead and carried on to row 10. So I have 10 blocks here and 10 blocks here. I haven't done the chain 6 block because that's how we start a new row, and we're not starting a new row. So if you have done a chain 6 block, just pull that back to your previous block. But we've just ended. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is half of our C2C square. Now what we want to do is we want to decrease, so we're going to work the other half, which is going to come across here, and we're going to do that by decreasing here and decreasing here, which will just close that square up and turn it from a square into a triangle. So what we need to do is, this is the point where when we've been increasing, we've done a chain 6 and created a new block. Obviously we're not doing that now because we're not increasing anymore. So what we need to do is we need to slip stitch across here to bring our hook and working yarn to this point here, so we can create a block here. And I'm going to show you how we do that. This is the moment that the dog has decided she really needs a drink, and she really needs one now. Hopefully she won't be a minute. Usually when I'm filming a video, the dog has either got to decide she wants to start licking really loudly, or she finds a squeaky toy. Ah, she's finished. Right. So we're going to decrease. So we're going to turn the work over. And we are just going to slip stitch into each one of these spaces between the stitches until we get into this very end one here. And that is the easiest way to do it. So into your first space, slip stitch into your second space, and then slip stitch into that very last space. So now you're in the correct position. So when we're doing a decrease, the decrease part of this, we do not chain 6 at any point. That's finished now. That is only for increasing. So what we need to do now is create a block here. So this is going to go straight up, and that's going to go straight across. So in order to create the block, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets into that same space, just like we've been doing all the way through. So 3 double crochets. I do find decreasing is much easier. And then you join your right block to your left block with a slip stitch, just exactly the same way. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets. Exactly the same way. Join your right block to your left block with a slip stitch, chain 3 and 3 double crochets. And I don't know why, but decreasing is always much quicker. Join your right block to your left block, chain 3 and 3 double crochets, just like you've been doing all the way through. And what we're going to do on this row is we are going to stop here. Once we've filled this block in, we're going to stop. We don't want to carry on anymore. We want to stop at this point. So we're just going to keep on going until that point. And you'll notice your rows get shorter much, much quicker. And just keep going. Now the dog's decided she must bark. She was asleep when I started filming this. I thought I thought it'd be okay. But the second you press record, the little lovelies wake up. Right, so it's coming up to the last block now. So this is my final block on this row. So I'll just complete the block like we've been doing. Join it to the block next to it. So this is the position I'm in now. So I'm going to turn the work, slip stitch into each of these gaps here until I'm at this top one. So slip stitch into there, slip stitch into there, and slip stitch into the last one. And there you go. So we've now got 2 defined corners now. So we're going to create our next block here. I'm going to do the same thing and we're going to stop here. So chain 3, just the same thing, exactly the same thing. Chain 3, 3 double crochets, and then join your right block to your left block. All the way across. Oops, got an itchy nose. All the way across until we get to that last block. Nearly missed a double crochet there. Nearly there. All the way across. Yarn does get in the way on camera. It really does. Right. So we're at the last block now. Sometimes when you work in C2C, it is easy just to go across when you're supposed to be decreasing. If you do accidentally go across, just pull it back to your last block. It's really easy to pull back. If you need to pull back at all when you're crocheting, just pull back to your chain 3. It's easier to pull back to there. So if I wanted to pull that block out, I'd just pull it all the way back to that chain 3, and then it's easy to remember where you are, you see. So don't worry if you've gone too far, just pull it back. Crochet is so easy to pull back. I'll just pop that block back in again. So I'm at my last block now. As you get a couple of rows in on the decrease, it's easier to see where your edge is. So I join that piece to that piece, whoops, without pulling my hook out, with a slip stitch. And then when you're in that position, turn your work, slip stitch into each of the gaps. And then chain 3 and do it again. So just keep going. All the way across. Should always have 3 double crochets and 1 chain 3, so you've got 4 stitches for each square, because your chain 3 counts as a stitch. And if you've not noticed yet, C2C is a huge yarn eater. So these little yarny trays are fantastic for using up scraps of yarn. I make a lot of socks, so I've always got a lot of 4-ply socks, and I'm forever trying to find up genius ways of using all those scraps. These are fabulous. if you hold 2 4-ply together and crochet with the 4-ply held double, you get some lovely combinations. You can do these stripy, you can do whatever you want. You could do half and half. So one colour on the increase rows and one colour on the decrease rows. They look fabulous, whatever you do. It's coming up to the end there. Corner to corner crochet is really, really versatile. You can make a lot of things with it. Obviously, the most obvious one is blankets, which I do have a tutorial blanket on the channel for a corner to corner join as you go crochet blanket. So you make little squares and join them together as you go. But you can make anything. I've made Kindle cases, glasses cases, cushion covers, all sorts of things with corner to corner. It's just fabulous. I think it is one of my favourite crochet stitches. It really is. So all we're doing now is we're just carrying on decreasing at each side until we get down to just one block left. That's all we're doing. Just keeping going. I hope you're enjoying this tutorial. Next comes the fun bit where we turn it into a little tray. I have these dotted around all over the house because they're really handy, just, you know, at the side of your bed to pop your jewellery in on an evening, or in the kitchen, or on the side when you come in to drop your car keys in. They're just really, really handy. Having them next to you when you're knitting or crochet to put your yarn scraps in or to put your stitch markers in. They're absolutely fabulous. You can make them all different sizes by playing with the yarn weight or doing more squares. The one that I'm showing you is 10 by 10, so it's quite a small one. If you wanted your tray bigger, you could maybe do 12 blocks by 12 blocks. Or 15 by 15. You can make it as big or as small as you want. If you wanted a really tiny one, you could do 8 by 8. It's completely up to you. And I've joined the corners with buttons, but you don't have to. I'll talk to you about that bit in a minute. Oops-a-daisy. Don't know what row I'm on at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 7th row. 7th row of decreases. It's absolutely stormy outside. It is so windy. I don't know where this storm's come from, but it's pretty bad outside. You can hear the air vent banging because I'm in the kitchen, but the letterbox also keeps banging. It's blowing a gale. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back when we are near the end. I'll probably come back when I've got about 2 rows left to go, and I'll show you how to finish this square. Alright, I'm just coming up to the last couple of rows now. really don't take long at all, do they? Really, if you've got a last minute gift that you've got to make in an hour, this would be a fabulous one. There we go. Now when we do the last square, do it completely as normal, like I'm doing here. Move that yarn out of the way. Once you've connected it to the one to the left side, this is the position that you're in. I do think it's beneficial just to flip the work and do those slip stitches to the top of that square as if you were starting another row like that, because it just gives a neater edge. I've forgotten my scissors, just 1 second. Right, so when you've finished, you can cut your yarn, pull your tail through, and this is what we have. This is a 10 block by 10 block square. We're going to actually use these yarn tails. So what you can see is what we do is we pinch in each of the corners like this to create the tray. So use the yarn tails. I'll start with this one. So pinch your corner. What I tend to do is look at the third row and pinch those two squares together. So you've got your third row here, 1, 2, 1, 2, your third block in, and pinch those two together. That was a loud motorbike. So I'm just going to do a little running stitch along the edge of here so I get my yarn in the right place. I could have done with a slightly longer tail on this side, never mind. So I'm going to get my third block from each corner, and all I'm going to do is stitch with the yarn tail that together like that. And then I'm going to weave in that yarn tail probably on the inside. Just find a nice easy way to weave it in. Whoops, it's come out of my needle. That's typical, isn't it, when you're filming? Just weave the yarn end through. Just any of the stitches you can find, just to make it secure. And then trim the end off. So that's the first corner done. I'm going to use the other yarn tail exactly the same way on the other corner. So I'll just thread my needle, do a little running stitch to take me up to the third square. And then get my third squares and just cinch them together. I don't want to pull too tight on it because it'll pull that end in, if you've just noticed it doing that. There we go. Whoops, okay. Pulled it straight through the same hole then. How often does that happen? And then just weave that end in, just behind some of the stitches on the inside so it's out of sight. Snip that. I'll use this same yarn tail
I'm going to do the same thing to the other corners, so I'll just weave this through on the third block. I'm just going to weave it in first so it's securely on there. Join the third blocks together. And that one is secure. Weave it through the stitches a little bit. You're just securing it. You can do a much better job. I'm going quickly because I'm just showing you for tutorial purposes, but you can do a much better job when it comes to you doing it. So that's 3 corners, so there's just this one to do now. I'm going to need a longer length of yarn. Had an awful feeling I hadn't pressed record then. I just checked the camera and think, please say I pressed record. Please say I pressed record. I have done that so many times. Exactly the same way. I think I've made that one slightly bigger on this side, but it really doesn't matter. Don't be too finicky over it. You can be if you want to be, if that's what you like to do. I never am. I'm never ever finicky over things. I just try my best. I don't give myself a hard time if things aren't perfect. Human, not a machine. There we go. Whoops, I've just knocked all of that flying over there. Right, so I've gone in a little bit more on the edges than what I have on that one. But you get the idea. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop the buttons on. Now, these buttons are sewn on. But I'm going to show you the cheats where if you don't like sewing buttons on, if you're anything like me and you don't like sewing buttons on, you don't need to. There is a secret option number 3. So your buttons need to sit like that on each side. They don't have to match. It looks better if they don't match. Now, I'll just move that button box out of the way and the crochet hook out of the way. I find buttons hot glue to yarn really, really well. So obviously if you're going to be like me and you're using hot glue, do be careful that you don't burn yourself. But you can hot glue onto yarn really well. And if you just put a little blob of glue on your button and stick it straight on the yarn, it'll do it really well. You can pull the stringy bits off when it's dry. These little bits will pull off when it's dry. So just get yourself, I love these buttons. Stick a little blob of glue on the back of your button
hold it straight on in position until it dries. If you want to sew them on, you can, but if you're short on time or you're not keen on sewing on buttons like me, hot glue is fantastic. Two more buttons. I've got a dotty one and a star one on that side. I'm making a lovely mess with the glue. It'll peel off. There you go. I love playing with hot glue, I really do. What else have we got? Oh, let's have some yellow ones. 2 yellow ones. For the final 2. That went straight on my finger. That went under my nail as well. There we go. Oh, what a crafty afternoon we've had together. So I'm going to turn that off. Right. When your glue is thoroughly dry, just pull off any gluey string bits that you have. Or if you've been lovely and sensible and sewn your buttons on, well done. I'm lazy and I'm not very good at sewing buttons on. But this is now what we have. So now you've got a lovely little tray to keep your needles in, keep your scissors in, any bits of yarn, and they're just fabulous. They just really come in handy for everything. So that is how you make a corner to corner yarny tray. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you like, please give me a thumbs up so I know that you've liked the video, and leave me a comment if you've made one of these and if it was successful. I will just say, the deeper that you put your corners in, the bigger ridge you're going to get. You see, these were made by joining the second blocks of each corner, and this one was made by joining the third blocks of each corner. So that will depend on the depth of yarn ball that you get. But I just hope that you had fun making these, and I will see you on the next tutorial.